Blog Talk Radio.
There's a mystery lurking the forested areas of the world. Many have seen something, but what is it? Are they seeing known animals? They claim they walk upright, like a human. There are so many eyewitnesses. Can they all be wrong? Is someone just playing a trick on people? Or is it possible a large bipedal being could exist in the forests of the world? You have a decision to make. Do you believe it exists? These are the topics we discuss on Sasquatch Watch Radio. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is November 5th, 2013. And first, right off the bat, I want to apologize to everyone. Mr. Jerry Hine is under the weather tonight, so he will not be able to join us tonight. But we will have him on next week when he's feeling a little bit better. So we've decided to do an open mic night. This is the first open mic night we've done. So basically, we're hoping that a few of you may feel this desire to call in and talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. We'll kind of make an open topic. If you want to talk about Bigfoot, something that you've run across or whatever, just the sky's the limit. Just call in and tell us about it. But before we get into it, I will get the Creature Seeker in on the line with us. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, Billy. How's it going?
Pretty good. So what do you think? You think we'll get some people calling in and kind of communicate?
I talked to Jerry earlier today. He's feeling a little under the weather. I think he came down with like leprosy. But he said he said he'll be better next week, though. So the good news is that he'll join us next week.
I thought leprosy was like really difficult to get rid of.
Well, I don't know. He says he's going to get better.
Well, okay. Well, as long as he's got that positive outlook, maybe he'll be fine.
Yeah, poor guy. I mean, he really is like the nicest guy.
Yeah, he is. It's really funny though. You know, a lot of people base their or judge people by their looks. And you first look at Jerry. Jerry kind of looks like, he kind of comes off as like, oh man, this guy's looks like a roughneck guy.
Well, he comes off as like a Hell's Angel. He always wears like the cut-off shirt with the tattoos all over his arms, and he's got long hairs, and he dresses kind of like a biker dude,
Yeah, exactly.
And but then when you talk to him, he's like the next, he's like the nicest, like the gentlest person you'll ever meet,
Yeah.
One of those things. I don't know, Bill.
Yeah.
You know, tell me what you think of this, all right? So before the show, I was talking to my buddy, right? And we got into a little argument. So he spent like $20,000 landscaping his lawn, right? So he calls me and he says, "Hey, I just landscaped my lawn. I just finished it. Why don't you come over and take a look at it?" Now, Billy, I could give two shakes of a rat's tail what a guy's lawn looks like. Seriously. I mean, I'm not going to come over. First of all, I live like a half hour away. We're good friends. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy, right? I like him and his wife. I've had dinner with them on multiple occasions. Nice folks. But seriously, he wants me to drive like a half hour to look at his lawn? I was, dude, why don't you take a picture of it and text it to me? Because that's about all I need, right? I'm not gonna come over and say, "Oh yeah, your hydrangeas are doing really nice this year." That's not me, dude. Right? So don't get me wrong, Billy. I don't want you to think that I'm not like a compassionate guy. Like if you got you got a new truck, yeah, I'll come over. Let's go for a ride. You get a new shotgun, yeah, let's take it out to the range and let's shoot it a couple times. You get a new kid, I'll even come over. I'll take a look at it from a distance. But I'm not going to come over and look at your freshly painted trellis and say, "Oh, those an ivy are coming along nicely." I'm not gonna do that, dude.
Well, you ought to what you ought to do. You ought to go out your back door. Go out your back door. Out on the top of your balcony in your penthouse.
Yeah. And
take a picture of your in-ground pool that you got up there at the top, and just send that to me.
Dude, he should be taken out to the woodshed just for thinking I would actually come out there to look at his lawn. Seriously, I mean. Anyway, I thought you'd appreciate that.
Oh yeah, that's funny. All right, let's see who is. We've got a Skype caller on the line. Who do we got with us?
Hey guys, I like snow cones.
We've got Abe. There's Abe.
Hey.
How are you guys doing this evening?
Good.
What's going on, Abe?
All right. No, I mean, you mean you're not that type of guy, Bruce. If he was growing steaks, he'd be over there all the time.
Yeah, but they're not steaks, Abe, all right?
Anyway, how are you guys been? How's research going for you guys?
It's going good.
Well, research around here lately has been slow. We really haven't got many reports in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
But,
same here in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's really slowed down. The only thing we've really been doing is researching in our areas that we've always researched. But other than that, it's been slow as far as reports.
I know. If there are any less sightings in Virginia, it could be Clearfield County, Pennsylvania.
Another bust on Eric and him.
Actually, it's funny that you bring up Pennsylvania because we had an open mic show last night too, and a guy from Pennsylvania called in, and he's been getting a lot of activity during the fall time. He's actually seen one, and his wife also seen one during the fall season. He said end of mid-October to November is about the time that they start getting activity. And he plays for a death metal band, and his wife heard a scream that sounded like a death metal musician just going, roar. And, we brought up Ron Bowles, and of course that's pretty common in some vocalizations in some areas. I guess it's been heard in the Ozarks as well, from what Ron Bowles of the BFRO was saying last night on the show. Have you guys ever heard of any type of a scream like that where it just goes, like you hear that really heavy death metal music?
No, I've never heard anything like that here. And most of the reports that we get in Virginia are usually they call it more of a howl screaming type sound.
Right.
The only low Well, you know what? I'll take that back. Up in New York, when I was up in the Adirondacks, not far from the Lake George area, me and Tom L. had a very low, like, growl sound like that when we were up there. That was back in 2006. But that's the only time I've ever heard that.
Man. And he was saying that this thing, it just went through her. It kind of resonated and everything, and she almost like could feel the vibrations and stuff of this vocalization from whatever it was. So I thought that would be pretty interesting. Seeing that we're at the fall season here, and actually we're getting snow up in Minnesota, 40 to 50 miles just north of where I am in St. Paul, and usually when the snow starts flying, a lot of activity as far as Bigfoot-wise, it seems to really decrease, or else just stop point blank at a dead still. With that being said, have you guys known in your areas any possible movement of migration, seeing that there's not a whole lot of green food for them left, at least not here in Minnesota, but as far as plant-wise and stuff like that, with the snow coming, it's all going to be covered up for them, hard to find. But in your guys' areas, do you guys still have a lot of green still?
The only green that we really have will be like the mountain laurels and stuff like that, because most of your leaves fall off the trees here, with the exception of like the mountain laurel, of course, your pine trees. They always have needles.
Right.
And then here and there you'll have like the mulberry trees or something like that still have leaves, and then they have the little berries on them sometimes. But other than that, our forests out here get pretty bare. I mean, you can see for long distances in Virginia during the wintertime, because practically other than the mountain laurel, which is extremely difficult to see through, other than that, I mean, you can see through the woods for hundreds of yards. So, yeah. But as far as migration, there is a guy here in Virginia that has claimed that he's been keeping a track of the sightings and stuff, and he feels very certain with himself that he can see a migration pattern. And I've heard other people say that too, but I've always kind of dismissed it, because we have sightings in Virginia, not in any particular season. I mean, they're year round, and sometimes I just wonder if when you plot these sightings on a map, if it's just simply areas that people frequent, and that's where they're having sightings, and it just looks like a path. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times it's like along the Appalachian Trail, and we know the Appalachian Trail is a very busy trail.
Yes.
From north to south. So I don't know if that really means migration, or if it's just people on the trail having sightings. So,
right. It makes me scratch my head. With that being said, I mean, it can go almost 50-50 with that, with all the activity as far as people on the trail itself, or is there a migration going on?
Right.
Now, as far as the deer and everything go, I mean, they're going to go where the food's going to be at, and it makes me wonder if the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot do have a certain home range during the different seasons. Let's say, for instance, during the warmer seasons, is it smaller home range compared to what it is in the colder seasons, where they have to actually go out from their, I guess you say, comfort zone and look for food where at greater distances?
Right. Yeah, and that's all I know, is that in Virginia we have sightings. Now, I will say, though, in particular, during the fall part of the season, and then like the spring time of the season, is when the sighting seems to be a little more frequent. Now, right. I've always passed that off as being, obviously everybody wants to get out in the spring after a winter, and have a good time and have a hike through the woods. Is that why the sightings are more in the spring? Possibly. And then, of course, in the fall, everybody wants to hurry up and do it before it gets cold.
Sure. Yeah.
So you got to ask the question: does it correlate just because that's when the majority of the people are out?
You do.
Or or is it because that's when the Bigfoot are moving? I don't know that we could really answer that.
Right. As far as Salt Fork goes, I mean, they claim to have about 2 million visitors each year. Is it?
Yep. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. And for the sightings that occur in Salt Fork, it seems like there's at least maybe 3 of them a year. Comparing to having people out there on their the hiking trails, on the horse trails and bridle trails and stuff like that. Sometimes you got people fishing at the lakes and pools around there at Salt Fork, or else just sitting stargazing at the handicap picnic area or other areas where they have some type of strange activity. Now, it kind of makes me wonder, with 2 million visitors in a park that size, which is it's a pretty decent park. I don't know what the acreage is or the shoreline is itself, but it just seems like with that many people there, and as curious as these creatures are, about 3, maybe 4 sightings a year is really kind of low.
Yeah. Well, I think they still have plenty of area out there that doesn't have trails and roads and things like that. That area is huge.
Yes.
So they have plenty of area to be in and still remain out of sight. And I'm sure, as long as that park has been open, many people come in there. They're very well aware of where people are.
Sure.
They've had plenty of time to study that.
And then you got the visitors that may have seen something but don't say nothing as well. And who knows how high that number is too.
And you can't blame them.
Yep, exactly. And speaking of Salt Fork, I mean, just this past Creature Weekend, the fisherman had his sighting and took a picture of that one. I thought that was really, really cool because he wasn't even there for the Creature Weekend. He was there for a fishing tournament.
Exactly.
And then Walter had his sighting that weekend as well.
Actually, it was the next day, right after the fisherman had his encounter. I know I was up there, and a few other people went up there in that area for the hike to see if we can see anything or hear anything. But at that time of night, no, nothing did happen. But then Walter, he got out there, I think he said around 5:30 in the morning, and around 6 or 6:30 is when he had his sighting of 2 of them. And he thought it was me and Eric Altman at one time, and he said, "Oh, very funny guys." And I guess whatever he was talking to just paid no attention to him and kept on walking.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to meet you, Abe. He was supposed to meet you out there on the trail. What happened?
Well, what happened is, I guess some miscommunication happened, is that we weren't going to go out that night, that evening when the fisherman had his sighting. But then some of us changed our mind, and we decided, let's go out. Maybe just in case we'll have something happen. So we went out there, thermal imagers, did some wood knocking, some vocalizations. Nothing squatchy happened, and he retired to his room, and I'm not sure if I remember the room number he was at. So when he had his sighting, he called my room, and he rang my room, and I was still sleeping at that time that he called me. And he goes, "Oh, man." He goes, "What?" He goes, "I thought it was you and Eric." And I was like, "Oh, man, I'm in bed." He goes, "I just had a sighting then." I was like, "No way." And that woke me right up, and then we met for breakfast, and he was showing me his camera, and I was going through, and I was like, "Oh, my gosh, you got something there." So I blew it up, and lo and behold, that's where he got the picture of that blob squatch.
Yep.
Wow.
Pretty interesting stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
All right. Well, that's pretty much what I had to say, guys. And you guys keep up the good work. Great show, Billy and Bruce. And you guys take care of yourself until we see each other again. Squatch on.
All right, man.
Well, thanks for calling, Abe.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Billy.
All right. Yep.
The resort, the Salt Fork State Park Resort, does get a lot of visitors every year. And I'm not at all surprised that it's in the millions. But the thing too is you have to realize that the Appalachian Trail, all these places, even though they get a lot of visitors, very few people actually go off the trail. So you know, I've had people say to me, well, you know, all these people who hike the Appalachian Trail, you know, why aren't there more sightings than there are? And it's because very few people leave the trail. Even even hunters, you know, how far off the road do you actually go? You know, usually don't go, you know, miles and miles unless you know, go out west where you're, you know, going into, you know, Colorado or Montana or something like that, way off the beaten track. But, you know, the vast majority of people just kind of stay on the trail or stay close to, you know, kind of civilization, so to speak, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's, and like I say, I mean, there's vast property out there. Like you say, everybody sticks to the trail. I mean, look at all the area out there that has no trail. I mean, these things have a source of water just about anywhere they go out there. I mean, with all the water out there. You know, wildlife. I mean, how many times have we went down the road in the middle of the day and seen deer and groundhog and raccoons and, I mean, you name it. You know, so there's plenty of wildlife out there.
I think, I think there is a lot of resources out there, Billy. You know, in the larger wilderness areas, sometimes you have to, you know, follow it, and it makes sense that, you know, if the game moves and, you know, they make up the primary part of your diet, that you would probably follow the game. Who knows if these things actually migrate, so to speak, or if they're just following the game, you know? Right.
Well, we got us another caller from the 307 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, guys, it's Nate. How you doing tonight?
Good, Nate.
So I was inspired because I was listening to a guest on another show, and I just thought, well, I'll take the bait and bite tonight. You know, you got a wide range of people in the room, different backgrounds, different places they come from. You know, even between the two of you, you know, we've got Bruce, who's likes to be empirical evidence and get the facts down, and, you know, not just be jumping at shadows. And then Billy, who's same thing, but Billy's had some spooky experiences. I wondered if people want to call in and say, why the heck do they care about this Bigfoot? What is it that grabs them? Because every person I know, regardless of what kind of background you have or where you go with this, it's like you're almost addicted to this phenomenon. And for myself personally, I'll just openly state that if I really think about it, if I'm honest, the idea that something is at the edge of knowing, like the periphery, like beyond the wall, or the great dark, not dark being evil, but the dark that's like things that's part of mythology, part whatever, from, you know, our great-great-great-great-grandfather's time that might be real. Oh, that's like you're accessing the primordial mystery.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny, Nate, that we're talking about that. You know, my wife and I have had this discussion, and I say I feel the same way you do. You know, to me, it would just simply be amazing that there's another living being that walks this planet on two legs like we do. You know, that seems to have some type of intelligence. I mean, to me, that would be an amazing discovery. But, you know, me and my wife, when we talk about it, my wife's like, it's not that she doesn't believe it exists. She's, in her mind, she's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? She's like, okay, so what? Okay, so there's something else out there that can walk on two legs. Big deal. So I think everybody kind of, I don't know, I guess from the scientific standpoint, it's like it would be amazing, you know, and if you're into that, I guess that's what really drives us. But for some others, I guess it's like not a big deal. But I don't know.
It'd be kind of cool to hear, you know, a wide group of people just give their ideas. I mean, why do you, you know, every Tuesday night get all your food, put it at your desk, and get it all revved up in your prime rib, and why do we care? What's in it? It'd be nice to get like a sampling,
Yeah,
so.
you must know Bruce or something, Nate.
Yeah, Bruce and I are kindred brothers. I also have a Taj Mahal, and it's so funny because when I would go out and do my retreats out in the far west coast, I was gifted a Taj Mahal by a lady named Lois, and she was a little bitty white woman that was like 4'6". I mean, just small, had the tent full of crap, and everyone would pick on her. Lois, there's room for 10, people in that and their dogs. What are you doing with the tent? Well, she ended up not doing these things anymore. Then she gave it to me. Well, I did the same thing. I brought out my air mattress. Then I put another air mattress in on top of that air mattress. This is so bad. In the back of my pickup, I got an old beat-up rug someone threw out, one of those heavy, Oriental-style rugs. I rolled that fucker in and I put that in there. And people would just shake their head. They'd say, well, what are you doing with this tent? So Bruce and I have an understanding.
Well, Nate, your stock just went up in my book, so thanks for sharing that.
Hold on now. Don't be too quick, Bruce. Don't be too quick. I have to do some confirmations first.
What's that?
Nate, do you have a big screen television in your tent and a microwave to warm your food and an inverter outside that can run a mansion?
No, I don't. I go low tech. When I go camping, I've got a bullwhip and I've got binoculars. I got things to keep me occupied if we get bored. But I will have a good supply of red meat and mushrooms to go with, and butter. Butter to go with my butter, and alcohol. But no, I don't. I'm not a nerd out in the woods. I go low tech.
Yeah, I like to rough it too, Nate. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah, okay, Bruce.
although if Bruce might have an idea about this. If there's a lot of hot chicks and you got a disco ball, hey, you might find a new kind of Sasquatch interaction there.
That's right. And
man.
It's a happy coincidence. I actually have a dance floor in the tent as well. So
yeah.
You got me beat there.
Nate, just so you know, Nate, you got Abe all excited in the chat room when you said something about mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, Nate, let me give you a piece of advice. Be careful with Abe's mushrooms because those aren't portobellos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, he's gonna be seeing the Sasquatch with the stripes and go flying around like, what was that movie? What's his name? Oh, the guitar player, Jack Black, when he was up in the tree with the Bigfoot that was his daddy. You know the comedy movie I'm talking about when they were on mushrooms?
Yeah. I'll think of the name of it here in a minute. I know what you're talking about.
And he's falling down that rain culvert. Man, I laughed so hard I fell off my couch watching that movie. Cool, guys. Well, I just want to check in and see if anyone wants to take the bait. Why they're into Bigfoot, because I learned so much about everyone's different perspective. But I think we all, like what Billy was saying, something's out there besides us. That idea by itself, it's always fresh,
Yeah.
Well, Nate, I think people get into it for different reasons. I think so. The people I've interviewed who claim to have an actual sighting, for them, they could be divided into a couple groups. One is for their own knowledge, they don't really care who else knows, but they just want to prove to themselves that it was what they thought, that they weren't going crazy. And then there's another camp of people who had, who have had eyewitness sightings, who kind of want to prove to other people that they're not crazy.
Yeah.
For me, I never had a sighting, and probably if I did, I wouldn't be so nonchalant about running through the woods. But I never had a sighting, and even when we go out looking for the creature, we never, we we have activity, but I never really see anything, that I could say, oh yeah, that definitely was a Bigfoot. A lot of the evidence is circumstantial. So
right.
For me, I would be just as happy if we came to the conclusion that, well, you know what, there's no Bigfoot. There was just a series of pranks and stories. But it's not as simple as that. I just want to get to the proof, the truth. I want to let the evidence sort of unfold. I don't want to start out with, a lot of debunkers start off with a default sort of theory, and they're trying to prove like it doesn't exist. Some people say, "Oh, I know it exists. I haven't seen it, but I know it exists." I'm in neither camp. For me, I'm middle of the road, and I say, look, if it's out there, then we should be able to collect physical, tangible proof of its existence. And so, let's find it. Let's find that evidence.
Yep.
Why are you in it, Billy?
Why I'm in it? Because I've always enjoyed it. I've just always had an interest in the subject. I mean, it was always one of them things that I strive to find books on when I was in school. And of course, as you know, school libraries didn't have very good pickings of books. It's usually the same book. I even remember in school when there was a weekly reader that came out about Bigfoot. And that got me all excited because, now here we are, something that we usually read every week in school, is coming out with an article about Bigfoot. I mean, so I've always had an interest since school. I don't know. I'm just amazed. It's something that people have seen, but yet it's not documented as a living creature yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just, and let me. While we're all talking here, let me pull this other person in here from the 661 area code. You're on the air with us.
Hey, Billy, it's Alex. How are you? Hey, Bruce.
Good.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, just a quick question. First of all, I thought you had seen one, Billy. Are you still on the fence, or?
I have. Well, let me put it to you this way. I have seen something, but in my later years, I've become more skeptical even of my own encounters. I can't explain it, and it may be just because I can't. It's not tangible for me. If I haven't been close enough, I can see myself.
You saw something out of the corner of your eye, or you just didn't see it that well, or?
Well, no, I've seen both. Now I've seen it when I was in Verina, Virginia, back in I think it was late 2005. That's the time that I had a sighting, and I saw it out of my right peripheral vision. There was another time when me and Tom L. were in New Jersey, in the Jersey Pine Barrens, when we had that issue with something coming up behind us in the water. And then that I had a more direct look at, although it was foggy, but I had a more direct look at something coming up out of the water and walking across the roadway. Now that was about 70 or 80 feet away. It was foggy, but again, if I had, I think we all do this, if I had it to do over, I would have just ran over there, But at that particular time, me and Tom both were like freaked out because how it got behind us without us hearing it freaked us out. Because it was close, and we didn't, we heard things, but not like something big like that coming up behind you. So,
yeah, I've done things like that where I kicked myself. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can now go back and you can play it over in your mind and say, why didn't I do this? So I feel like I'm a little more prepared now if something like that happens. Now the problem is I'll probably never get the opportunity again.
Yeah.
So,
and Bruce is still trying to find him, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay. No, I was just asking you. You're still trying to find him, right?
Well, I'm still trying to collect a body of evidence that, you know, is consistent with the theory that a bipedal creature of this size could live undetected in, well, I was going to say North America, but really they've been sighted in many parts of the world. So, yeah, the short answer is I'm still trying to find that evidence, and you know, it's frustrating sometimes because the evidence is, you know, mostly circumstantial. You know, we have the casts. We have even the casts with, you know, alleged dermal ridges. We've got plenty of anecdotal evidence from eyewitness sightings. We have some footage, you know, but the one piece of evidence that sort of keeps me, you know, looking and hopeful that we could get some evidence is that, you know, we have the Patterson-Gimlin film. You know, and for me that is a key piece of evidence that says, wow, there's something out there, because, you know, to this day that film's been extremely scrutinized, and you know, people have not, we've not found a flaw in that film that suggests that it was a hoax.
Yeah, I you know, the Patterson-Gimlin film to me is pretty solid, and nowadays any video you get, everybody thinks it's been doctored, you know, just fabricated basically. It's real tough, you know, unless you just got somebody that's rock solid credibility that's delivering it. But, I mean, I've seen them, and I can tell you they're out there, and I know Billy's seen them too, and he's just doubting himself. But maybe you haven't seen them as clearly, and for me, you know, just having seen them, it's kind of like what you said, Bruce. Once you see them, you're like, how the hell can these things be around and just not be seen? You know, happenstance all the time. I mean, you know, like I've seen bear out in the forest all the time. But these guys, you know, it's tough to get a glimpse of them. But anyway, I just enjoy it's like delving into a hidden city, you know, a lost city that nobody's discovered, and you're getting to find out about it piece by piece. So, well, let me
ask you this, Alex. Nate had asked the question earlier. What brought you into this? What interest did you have that made you want to go out and do this?
I didn't even believe in this until my daughter saw one. You know, I'd seen that the programs on Patty, you know, In Search Of and all that stuff, and I thought it was all myths, and you know, I didn't know if it was for real. But she saw one, and she was pretty freaked out at the time, and I said, wow, you know, what she described is exactly, you know, what a Sasquatch would be, I guess. And so I started poking around in the woods, and then started having stuff, just real strange stuff happen around me. And I said, wow, you know, maybe there's something to this. So I looked online and saw what other people were reporting. And just for me, it was an opportunity to connect with the woods again. You know how it is when you get older, you go through college, you're partying or whatever, you get distracted. And then, you know, when you've been in the woods all your life as a young man, and then it just gives you an opportunity to get back into it after you've been in the family life, raising kids and not being able to get out, and now you've got more time on your hands. And so it gave me a little bit of a hobby to do. So
yeah.
Well, Alan, I think definitely don't downplay that. For me, and I'm sure I can speak for Billy as well, one of the most enjoyable things about this kind of research is that we do get a chance to go out in the woods. I grew up, you know, in the boondocks in upstate New York. I grew up in the woods, you know, and that was kind of our playground. And, you know, live in Boston now. You know, I don't find the time that I used to have to get out there, but this research allows me to get back out in the woods, and and you're able to enjoy it with your colleagues and friends who, you share some laughs. It's just great times. Even if you don't have a interest that you have been, you can still look back on that experience as, you know, you had a great time hanging out with some good friends, colleagues. Am I right with that?
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met people that I would have never met otherwise doing this, and we all, you know, I became obsessed with this after I started having my experiences, and, you know, I saw one and I saw another, and so you just want to see more and want to hear more. But then when you connect with other people that have that same fascination or interest, and you get to go out and play in the woods for a weekend, it's kind of fun. It's nice, you know. You meet new people. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I'm just calling in to say hello. I've been listening to y'all's show. You've done a good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan.
All right, you guys take care.
Yeah, you
All
too.
right. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah,
All
Billy,
right.
you've on many occasions you've even commented, you know, how enjoyable it is just to get in the woods with friends and just to have a good time, and that's really one of the most important things is to enjoy it, you know.
Well, yeah, and I've always said, you know, it's always been my saying, you know, when the fun in this research stops, it's time to get out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I think it's just it's very enjoyable, and he brought up a good point. You know, when you get into this, you actually end up meeting people that you would have otherwise never met, and I have to say that some of my best friends are people I met by doing Bigfoot research.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. So, you know, anyone who comes into this and, you know, is not taking advantage of the friendships and just the enjoyment of it, you know, it's got to be dull. I mean, it really does.
Yeah. I mean, how many countless hours, Billy, do we go out in the woods and, you know, nothing happens? You know, there's
all the time.
no activity. You're sitting out there, you're freezing, you're wet, it's raining, it's snowing, you're away from your family. And there are times when I say to myself, you know, I'm sitting out in the middle of the woods, freezing my butt off, in the dark, it's raining, and I'm thinking, like, man, I feel like Charlie Brown sitting in the pumpkin patch waiting for the great pumpkin. You know, I mean, you feel like a horse's ass because you're like, am I really? I'm out here because I think I'm going to see a Bigfoot. And I do. There are times when I do question, like, what am I doing out here? I could be at home eating a nice prime rib. I could be sitting back watching a great DVD, you know. But I do have a good time. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise. I mean, you know, you spend a lot of time away from your family. You spend time away from work. You have to take time off from work a lot of times. You spend a lot of money traveling. It's just a lot of investment. And if it's not fun, you know, it's not like we're making any money off of it, you know, Billy. It's just, you know, just being out there and enjoying the research and enjoying being with your friends and colleagues.
Yep. Yeah, but you know, there's a lot of fun things too. For example, I never will forget. I think it was back in 2000. I think it was 2008 or 2009. That's when it was me, my brother Jason. A few of us had went out and we took Fox News out in the woods because they wanted to do a news program for Halloween. So we take them out to this area and we take them in the woods. So you got a camera guy, you got a reporter, you know, they're wanting to shine their lights, and I'm trying to tell them, listen, guys, you got to turn the light off. I mean, nothing's going to come out with this big freaking spotlight on this camera shine through the woods. You know, just turn it out. You know, let's walk back in here about a mile, you know. And we had them in there, and it probably wasn't 5 minutes. And, you know, I could hear, you know, like deer and stuff, you know. And they're all like, the camera guy's like, did you hear that? I said, yeah. And then they're all jumpy. They're all jumpy, and they're like, oh, I heard something over there. Oh, well, we're in the woods and there's other wildlife out here. It's just funny watching the reaction because you can tell these people don't do this. You know what I mean? They don't spend any time in the woods. You know, so you have to explain to them, well, yeah, you know, there's a deer over there, you know, or whatever. But it's funny though, taking them out and just watching the reactions and stuff. But even funner than that is like taking a new person out, you know, someone that's more like an enthusiast. And you take them out in the woods and you set them in a camp chair. I think I've told this story before. The guy, you know, has never spent any time in the woods. He doesn't hunt or anything. And we had him out there, and we had some deer coming up, and I knew they were deer because I could hear some of the sounds, and I could hear the quadrupedal footsteps and stuff. And this one deer, you know, I don't think the deer liked it because we were in their path, and they got a little pissed off. So this deer comes right up to the edge of the woods. Now this new guy that we had out there, his camp chair was faced, so these deer were coming up behind him. And that deer came right up to the edge of the woods, and it let out this real loud, you know, huffing noise, you know, like they usually do when they're like just, you know, they're pissed. And he cleared the chair. It scared him so bad he hit the ground. And watching this grown guy that was probably 6'2" or so, hiding behind the camp chair and looking and peeking over the back of it was hilarious. Just funny as it could be. And you know, that's the kind of, you know, those are the other fun moments, you know. But at the same time, you can't laugh at them too hard because, you know, I'm sure we were all like that at one time or another when we first went out and didn't know what we were looking at or hearing or whatever. Yeah, it's fun.
It's hard to remember, Billy, that not everyone grew up and is comfortable in the woods, you know.
Yeah.
So we kind of take it for granted because we're in the woods so often that, you know, we're probably a little too comfortable in the woods because we probably don't take the precautions that we should be taking.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm guilty as anyone of that. You know, I'll take off. I won't tell anyone where I'm going, or, you know, and that's not safe. So, you know, going forward, I'm going to try and, you know, be a lot safer, practice more safety precautions. So I practice what I preach. But some people just don't have that background, and I have to tell you too, Billy, I enjoy taking, for people who aren't comfortable in the woods or who don't have that background, I enjoy taking them into the woods because you're kind of, you know, they're out there kind of for the first time, you know, and you remember that first time you went out on that expedition and, you know, you're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you kind of, you know, you get to relive the experiences with the newbies, you know. It's kind of fun and it's kind of nostalgic, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I know some researchers who've been doing this a long time, you know, 30 plus years, and, you know, they're kind of jaded, and I hope I never turn out like that, you know.
Yeah, I do.
You know who I'm talking about, Billy.
Yes, I do. Oh, Allison's got me worried now. Allison, you shouldn't worry me like that. Everybody here in Virginia is on edge.
I'm sure, Billy. When do the polls close?
Well, they closed back at 7, and she's scaring me because she keeps saying that she thinks she's going to have to go puke. So,
great.
She's worrying me a little bit.
She probably eats some of Carrie Rupert's cooking.
You know, they're talking about foxes. Nate and them are talking about fox. And, you know, that is another thing that scares a lot of people If you've never heard a red fox scream, it will scare the living crap out of you, especially if they sneak up close to you and just let loose. We had one do that when we were out in Fauquier County near the Rappahannock River, and the only reason I knew that it was close by is because I actually saw the thing, saw the red fox, and it wasn't no more than 30, 40 yards away from us, and that thing just let out this scream. And if you've never heard one scream before, yeah, it'll scare the living crap out of you. Because it literally sounds like a woman dying.
Well,
did I ever tell you the time I was doing surveillance out of my company vehicle?
No.
I had a company vehicle vandalized out here by my house, parked in a certain area where, for whatever reason, the kids or somebody likes to vandalize. So I set my company vehicle out there one night, and I decided to sit inside of it because you can't see through the windows.
Yep.
So I sat in the back. I had my my camp chair set up in the back of the van, and I sat in the back of the van watching, and I had my mirrors angled so that I could actually see out of the back and see through those mirrors and see if anybody was coming. Because I was going to catch the people that were doing the vandalism. And I was sitting in that van. It was late at night. It was probably like 1 o'clock in the morning. And this fox came up to that van, and I'll tell you what, I swear I think it got under the van. And just out of the blue, let out this scream, and I dropped everything I had. I had dropped my water, everything, because it sounded like it was like right in the van. Scared me to death.
Well, Billy, people don't realize that a rabbit in distress that's an eerie sound as well. If you ever heard of a rabbit shrieking, that could scare the bejesus out of you.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's terrible news, Allison.
Is it final? Is that final?
I'm assuming that she's putting up the final numbers. She's claiming McAuliffe is 47% and Cuccinelli is 46%.
That is a shame.
Well, what that is a it's bad news for the state of Virginia. That's all I can say. She's saying that some are reporting it as the final numbers. Others are reporting it's too close to call. I'll tell you what I call it. This will probably get me in trouble. I call it a grand design of the polling stations. That's what I called it earlier today when they claimed that Virginia was having some problems and issues with the polling stations. I said, yeah, by grand design.
Yeah, how convenient.
How many times have we heard that? But anyway.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Billy.
Yeah, I know. Allison said that she's going to go in the woods and live with Bigfoot. Should be better off there.
Yeah, maybe they can show her where all the holes are in her property so she won't fall into them again.
Hey, Allison, you'll probably get better health care out in the woods. Oh, man.
Well, what are you doing, Billy?
What?
What was all that rustling?
I don't know. I didn't hear it.
You doing Pilates over there?
No, not doing none of that. Now, if you hear a loud thump, it's because I passed out. Which might come soon because I'm trying to figure out what we'll do in this state.
Well, what I was about to say, Billy, was that I went to the annual meeting for the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society out there in the Bigfoot-free zone known as Clearfield County, and we heard a pack of coyotes that were really, really close to the campsite. And we actually had a couple members fearful that these coyotes were just going to come into the campsite and rip someone apart. So we had we just said, look, that would be really rare if that happened, but
right.
if it does happen, I'll make sure that your next of kin are notified. Because I'll be in my car about 50 miles away by the time they catch up to me.
Oh, wow.
But if you're not used to that, you just don't know. But I have to say, I know people who research by themselves, Billy, and when I say by themselves, they don't just go out in their backyard. They go way out into the Rockies.
Yeah.
And they do, they just go out by themselves, and that's not really safe for many reasons. But the one thing is, when you're out there alone, it's not so bad when someone's with you, but when you're out there alone, you really have to keep your imagination in check.
Right.
Because that can be your worst enemy. When, if you're out there by a campfire alone or just sitting in the dark waiting for some activity, you hear something, and it's pretty easy to let your imagination run away.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure.
So you really have to keep that in check. And, of course, it doesn't help if you got a portable radio and you're listening to, like, George Norrie, Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
Something like that to get you all psyched out.
Well, anyway, we're down to the last, 3 minutes of the show. Before we end the show tonight, I just want to let everyone know I am going to put a poll up on the Sasquatch Watch Radio Facebook page. Actually, I may put a couple polls up because what I want to find out is, number one, I've noticed that a lot of people in the chat room log in and log out. And I know that one of the reasons people do that a lot of times is because they lose sound. So I want to do a poll to find out how many people have trouble staying logged in and listening to the show. So I'm going to put a poll up, and you can find it at facebook.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio. And if you haven't liked that page yet, please go ahead and like it, because that's where I put the schedule up for the show so that you know what's coming up. But I'm going to put a poll out because I want to know the answer to that. And also I'm going to put a poll up also about how do you listen to the show, because I know some people call in and listen to the show. I know some people listen to it on Blog Talk, and I know some people listen to it on iTunes, and listen to the archive shows. So I'm going to put up a poll to find out how it is that you all listen to the show regularly, to give me an idea of what works for most of you. So you never know.
The reason why we have is because it's come to our attention that some of you who are logging onto the show, listening to the show, are not having they're having some difficulty of a technical nature, and it's really I can speak for Billy as well. It's very disconcerting when we hear that some of our listeners are not having a good experience logging onto the show, and so it's please take a moment to respond to the poll, because it really does make a difference. Right, Billy?
Because I'm going to take your responses and I'm going to Blog Talk Radio about your responses. So the more responses I get on this poll, the better ammunition I have when I go to Blog Talk Radio and try to find out from them why it is we're having these problems. Do they need to upgrade their servers? Do they not have enough bandwidth? What is the issue that people are having as to why they can't hear the show? So please answer the poll, kind of give me your reasons so that I can go to Blog Talk. And, I look at it like this: if Blog Talk can't solve the issues, then maybe we need to look at another avenue. Maybe we need to find another place to broadcast Sasquatch Watch Radio. We've got some big changes coming up with the radio show. We have the sky's the limit. We really want to get Sasquatch Watch Radio out there to the public, and so that people can come in and listen to the show and enjoy it. So we want to make sure that everything's going as it should.
Right, and we feel that that's the least that we owe you folks, the listeners. We're indebted to you because you have made the show the success that it is, and part of the reason why we're doing this polling is we really do want to make it a better experience. Whether or not we stay on this venue or we make a change, but we're really trying to impress upon Blog Talk the importance of making sure that the experience is a good one for our listeners. We owe you that much.
Right. And feel free to give us comments too, comments and suggestions on the Facebook page. I will probably soon develop also a website dedicated to Sasquatch Watch Radio, to where you can leave comments and things there for those that may not use Blog Talk or for those who don't use Facebook, because I know there's a lot of people that don't use Facebook. So I'm probably going to work on developing a website so that people that don't have Facebook can actually go there and leave comments about the show. So please give us your feedback. Let us know what's good, what's bad. Give us suggestions. Give us your comments. If you hate something I said or Bruce said, let us know.
Yeah.
Honestly, we need your feedback so that we know. And don't worry, Allison, I know you hate the word change because we have a leader in this country that uses that word a lot, and we see what's happening. So I completely understand about the word change. So don't worry, it's not going to be anything like that. So we just want to make sure that everybody is happy and that everybody can hear the show and is satisfied, and just make sure that we're taking everything in the proper direction. So that's all. So next week, folks, we will have Jerry Hine on the show. So that will be next week, and we got some other things in the works for the following weeks. But until then, do you have anything else, Bruce?
No. I'm looking forward to speaking with Jerry next week. Hopefully, his little bout with leprosy should be over, and that'll be a fun show. Yep,
I think it will. So until next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, everyone have a great remainder of the week and a great weekend.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Remember to join us again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate every one of our listeners. Thank you so much for being here.